And welcome back to Astro Selfcare Sunday. It is me, Kenya. And oh my goodness, we are about to wrap up this particular series where we're going through every sign of the zodiac. We're going to introduce a whole new series, but I'll announce that in the new year. So we're almost done with this series. Next week will be our last one for 2023. Today we are talking about one of my favorite signs for interesting reasons. It's I think it's a challenging sign, but it's such a necessary energy. Okay. So today we're talking about Aquarius. But before we get into our Aquarian energies, this to me, it's I really appreciate Aquarian energy. But anyway, before we get there, welcome. If you are new here, if you are like, who this be? What this be? What is this? This is the space where every Sunday I release um, information about astrology related to how you can use it for your self care. And right now, we're doing a series where if you go into my playlist, okay, first of all, subscribe. First, if you're new, subscribe. Okay, push subscribe and then push the bell so you're notified every time these videos come out and anything else that I release. Okay. But if you go to the playlist, there's a playlist that says Astrology Self Care Sunday playlist. Well, if you click onto that, then you'll see, and you're like, oh, have you done my sign? I'm a Gemini. Or have you done my sign? I'm a Leo. Have you done my sign? Yeah. You'll see all the signs we've done. And we've done all except for Aquarius is today. And next week, we will end off with Pisces. Okay. So you can catch up, you can watch. If you're like, oh, what about my child? Their sign is a Virgo. What about my partner? Her sign or his sign is a Libra. Yes, I would say go check it out. Okay. The other big thing that I always say, and those of y'all who are returning, thank you. Thank you for coming back. I hope you're sharing and liking. Go ahead and push like now. You can do that. Um, those of you who watch know I always say this, we have every sign in us. Yes. And if you're wondering, how is that? What I it behooves you to get an astrology reading. And yes, I do astrology readings. I call them astrology guidance readings because it's not me just telling what's in your chart. I actually do coaching. I actually guide you. I actually help you see some of the challenges and some of the ways, some of the things that you can do to work through it, to navigate, better understand even where it's coming from in the first place, all of that. So it's more of a guidance reading. And it would behoove you, all of you, yes, to get a reading done because on your birth chart, because it's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing, especially if you go and have the reading done with someone like myself who is doing guidance, okay, and not just spitting out a bunch of astrological facts to you, which can be extremely confusing and you won't remember anything. And some of you may say, "Oh, I've had a reading. I don't remember it. I don't remember nothing." Yep, that's usually what happens. So I make sure that my readings are ones where you may not remember every detail that I say, but you're going to remember a lot. And it's very impactful. So, if you go into the description, you see how you can go to the website. You can schedule either a free discovery call if you just want to learn a little bit more what it's about, or you can go on and just go ahead and book your session. Okay. And my sessions, I think, are extremely cost effective. But you can either do a single session or you can do what I call 2 for 1, where you book a session plus a follow up, which will be way more cost effective than doing 2 separate sessions. Okay. All right. So, again, what I try to do, keep these under 30 minutes. And I really focus on telling you the traits. Okay, some basic traits that you should understand about the sign, whether this is your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising. Okay, so if Aquarius is your sun sign just means typically what we say. Oh, I'm an Aquarius. Oh, I'm a Scorpio. Okay, moon sign is the position the moon was in when you were born. Okay, so the moon may have been in Aquarius when you were born. So that means that's your moon sign. Rising, that's a certain point at which you were born of the position of the planets, and your rising may be Aquarius. So if it's one of those three, what I'm about to say is very dominant, okay? Because those three are kind of the more dominant energies that we understand, that we connect to, that's more in our conscious, that other people experience. But you got every sign in you. You got every sign in you. Okay. All right. So let's get into this Aquarius and why I love it. Y'all know I keep my notes. I'm getting ready to go to my notes, but I'll say this just to kind of top off why I love Aquarius energy so much. Mainly because my eldest child is an Aquarius. And whew, I didn't know much about Aquarian until I had him. And I think he's a very classic Aquarian. I think extremely innovative, and I'm going to tell a lot more of the points. But more than anything, has really taught me to tap more into my Aquarian energy, and I think that's what's really cool about finding out what your children, if you have children, if you are a parent, finding out what your children's charts are. It's a game changer. It's an ultimate game changer. And yes, I can do that. I can do a guidance reading to help you be able to understand your child's chart and be able to understand kind of why your child's soul picked you, okay, and the different lessons and how they're adding to the constellation of your family. Yes, I know that sounds deep, but that's as deep as it is. It goes way deep. It's extremely powerful. And for me, with my son being my son, child being an Aquarius, really has taught me so much. I see exactly why he picked me as mom. I'm very clear on that. So yeah, and my other child is a Gemini, and I see similarly for very different reasons why he picked me. So it's very powerful, and we're going to talk more about parenting and this and self care for your children, self care for yourself as a parent. That's coming up, guys. That's coming up. So let's dig into this Aquarian life. Let's see here. Where are we at here? All right, here we go. So, my Aquarian, the Aquarius mantra is I know. And again, I always say these mantras already just tell you, they just already give you the goods on the energy. I know. Okay. So, you already know when you're dealing with a I know energy, there's a lot of interesting, compelling things that can come along with that, right? So, the dates for Aquarius is January 20th through February 18th. Its symbol is the water bearer. Yes, the water bearer. And that gets really deep also into some of Bible and biblical things. And I'm not spending much time. I will be being a guest on another person's, well, actually my partner, he's doing a whole YouTube series about spirituality and talking about astrology in the Bible and being able to really break that down. And I can't wait to come and be a part of that conversation. And I'm sure we'll talk about this. Its element is air. Its modality is fixed. So it's a fixed air. Okay. So my air is typically, okay, right? But it's a fixed air. That's also pretty loud, right? How do you have a fixed air? Like, what does that even mean, right? And understand air in astrology means interaction and exchanging of ideas, communicating, um, an exchange, okay, of communication and thinking. So, the quality is a masculine energy because air and fire are considered masculine energies in astrology. It's ruled by two planets. Okay, so the traditional is Saturn. All right, our taskmaster is Saturn. But the thing that really I think impacts the truth of an Aquarian is Uranus. And Uranus, we'll talk more about that planet. It's a very interesting planet, can be a sudden, quirky, can do some great sudden and then some great or some hard sudden things to happen with it. So it's an interesting planet. And Aquarius rules the 11th house and it's opposite to Leo. All right. So let's talk about some of the high frequency, the higher octaves, the things that work for our good, the things we love about Aquarius energy. Okay. This is and let me say this, I'll say this, because I think a lot of people, if you're like, I don't know any Aquarians, or I don't know if you know one really, really well, because she's a mega, mega star. And I think there's some celebrities who really, I think, portray their sun signs, and that is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is an Aquarius, and I think everything now I don't know her personally, right? I don't know her personally, but at least what I see, what she projects to the public and how she has gone about allowing her public life to be seen. I think it relates a lot to her. So abstract. One of and I consider this a high frequency of being abstract because Aquarius is the energy that is coming in here to say we're about to change some ish. All right. We're going to change it and you may not understand it at first. You may think, "Oh, that's too much," or but ultimately, it's for the good of you. That's really what it's about. It's a very innovative, a very pioneering, and it can be very abstract, okay? Because a lot of times Aquarian energy, it's trying to push the envelope. It's attempting to push us into another level. It's attempting to push us into a deeper and a more innovative type of understanding. And so a lot of times initially the energy of an Aquarius can feel abstract because it's not always so well understood because of where they're going. Okay. But they're going far. They're going real far. Okay. It's a very altruistic energy, very much about the humanity of all good. And that's the whole point. I think this is where Aquarians get misunderstood. A lot of times, what they're doing, what they're pushing, what they're seeing, what they're knowing is not for selfish reasons. A lot of times it's more for it can appear as though it is for selfish reasons because it's such a fixed energy. It's such a I know what I know. No one's going to change my mind, right? But it's really looking out. Does this make sense? Okay. Does this make sense for all? Does this make sense for humanity? Does this make sense for people? Why do people do this? Why not do this? Why not do that? That could be more helpful. It's very much of an awakening and an enlightening type of energy. Okay. So, again, with that, what I've been saying all along with that innovation and that abstract kind of understanding of things, very broad minded, not so don't understand fixed as narrow minded. No, it can appear as that because it's that fixed energy can be it can feel so dogmatic, right? But really what it's actually a very broad-minded idea just kind of fixed within whatever that broad idea is. Very change oriented, therefore very clever because of thinking kind of ahead maybe of the grain or ahead of what everyone else, or very quirky, different than what other people may consider. It's very concerned about the collective, very conceptual, that goes along with the abstract, extremely devoted. And that devotion is coming again from that fixed energy. Okay. Because again, it's an I know. So when you have a confidence or you have a sensibility of the I know, it's easier to be kind of devoted to that, right? Because you're clear, right? There's a clarity behind it. And so that's where I think that devotion comes. Definitely an eccentric energy. I haven't met an Aquarian yet. If I see if I see someone have an Aquarius sun that doesn't present with this lets me know that there's some type of aspect. There's another planet talking to it in a way that's challenging these qualities. But in its light, in its sun, in its shine, yes, eccentric, fair. It wants fairness, okay? Because again, it's got that altruistic energy about it. It's for the betterment, really, of the collective of mankind. It wants for the betterment, and sometimes that betterment can be very misunderstood, or there may be some disagreement with what is the betterment. But that's ultimately what the Aquarian energy is wanting to push us, and we all have it, right? So it's very interesting to find where Aquarius sits in your chart. And this is why I'm telling you, if you've been watching these sessions, if you've been watching these videos every week and you have not had an astrology reading or you have not reached out to me, what are you waiting for? Because I'm telling you, you'll be able to use this so much more when you are able to sit down and really see your chart and better understand where these energies sit in your chart and why. Okay. And so finding where your Aquarian energy can be extremely powerful because all of these things I'm saying are very powerful abilities. And I think this is why I really love Aquarius, especially with what's happening in the world right now, where there's so much shift, there's so much change, there's so much difference. We've got to tap into our Aquarian energy. We are astrologically moving more into an Aquarian era. And it's very important that we are tapped in to understanding the strength of who we are in our Aquarian energy and where it sits in our life. Okay. Very free thinker, freedom loving, friendly, future, and, innovative. Now, I'm saying all these great things, all these lovely things. But yes, sir, Aquarius has some interesting things when it falls into its low frequency. So let's dig into it. Let's dig into it. So some of the low frequency things, and this is where Aquarian energy has to be very careful because I think this is where they get very misunderstood, very prejudged, and then get kind of relegated to, oh, that's just what Aquarian is. But that is when Aquarian is not necessarily doing the self-care that I'm about to mention, or has some type of aspect. When you hear me say aspect in astrology, that means that another planet is communicating it in a way or sending off energy to it in a certain way that's causing, if the awareness isn't there, if the expansion isn't there, it will sit in this lower frequency. Okay. So you can be aloof. You can see aloofness with Aquarian energy. You can see Aquarian energy can feel a sense of alienation. There may be a sense of arrogance because, again, we're in this society for someone to be able to just say, I know. We don't give a lot of space for people to just have their own individual thoughts and affirm them in that. It's like if it's not like this person or doesn't look like that or wasn't following this, then what is it? Right. And so that can come off as, oh, you're being arrogant. Okay. And I'm not saying that Aquarian energy can't be because it absolutely can be. Okay. Absolutely. Especially if it is the I know. But I think that gets tricky. And how, if you are an Aquarian sun, how to develop in a way where you can maintain the I know and not fall in the arrogance is really critical. It can be authoritative along with that arrogance. There's a certain awkwardness that can happen because when you are eccentric, when you are being individual, when you're not agreeing with, you do go to the beat of your own drum. Obviously, that can feel very awkward, particularly in the conditioned society that we have. Um, the one thing that Aquarius absolutely have to be careful is the closed mindedness. And again, that's coming from the I know. Okay, because the I know is what allows Aquarian energy to feel alive, to feel balanced, to feel clear, to feel stable. So if it gets pushed off in that from that, it won't feel its high vibration. So it has to be careful not to be though closed-minded about it. So you can know what you know, and it doesn't have to be but or. It can be and also appreciate how other people may or may not do their life. Okay. Does that mean you have to get off of your no? No. Does it mean you have to change your mind? Not in the moment, but it's okay to give it consideration and decide for yourself. Okay. There's a cockiness that then obviously that goes with that arrogantness that can go when you feel like you know. Can be very contrary, kind of that devil's advocate, kind of like, but did you think about this? Because again, they're always kind of pushing the envelope, always pushing you to see things from a more abstract space, from a more innovative space, a space that you may not have considered before. But with that, because the world a lot of times doesn't work in that area, there can be a certain crankiness then that comes, with the Aquarian energy, or a certain kind of distant and dissatisfaction because of not fitting in kind of to the mold. And if you're not really clear on who you are, why you are, you're not really doing the self care I'm about to mention, it's very easy to get into that dispassionate, that dissatisfies, that emotionally detached and egotistical type of energy that Aquarian energy absolutely can go into in a low frequency. Okay. So I think it's a tricky energy because it's an important, I don't think that we utilize our Aquarian energy as much as we should. I think society has really conditioned us to distant ourselves from our Aquarian energy and to not see it as favorable, but to see it like in those negative ways. And I think it's important that that is though how you ruffle feathers to create change sometimes, right? You don't always have to be ruffling feathers, right? But there does have to be a certainty and there does have to be a certain mindset that's looking for change and innovation so that we can keep leveling up and going through and navigating and expanding and growing, right? All right. All right. So let's talk about some self care. What can the Aquarian do to stay in their high frequency? How can we help an Aquarian out? All right. So let me just reiterate this before I talk about the different self care activities. Remember, Aquarians are known for their independence, their innovation, and their humanitarian nature. So you've got to remember these. I keep saying this when we do the self care. Remember what the main traits that those signs, that energy is known for. It's known for their independence, their innovation, and their humanitarianism. So we have to be able to do self care things that nurture those aspects, right? So intellectual pursuits. are super important for the Aquarian energy because by stimulating the mind, like reading or learning, um, it further pushes them to go into the I know, right? And then to know more information, to be even clearer on the I know. All right. So it's great self care for reading and to learn new topics of interest for Aquarian energy. A technology detox. Actually, Aquarian Aquarius rules technology, and you'll find that a lot of people who have dominant Aquarius energy, like rising moon or sun, tend to either do very well with systems and technology or very active in that. So, taking a bit of a detox from that so that they can unplug and let their mind kind of rest, reset, and then recharge can be very important because they're very inclined because they can do that readily. It's what Aquarius rules over, so they can get into it. It's important to kind of detox from time to time. Doing a community involvement, that's that altruistic humanitarian piece, which could be very, very soothing, very balancing for the Aquarian energy, as well as the socializing. You'll find that Aquarians got a lot of friends. A lot of friends and a lot of deep connections with their friends. It's not just like, oh, no. If you are an Aquarian's like boy or girl, you're it, okay? Because they really value that energy. So socializing is important. Having some type of unconventional hobbies. Again, Aquarian is our quirk. Aquarian is our individualism. It's ruled by Uranus. It's doing that kind of different thing. So it's important to nurture having unconventional hobbies, okay, and not just doing everything that everybody says, but making sure that it still aligns with your interests. And this is why I know for sure if you have an Aquarian child as a parent, I just think there's certain energies that are that are going to push you a bit more because it's so you I found that I had to raise my son in such a different way, in such a unique way. I couldn't do it the way that every book was saying, every person, because it wasn't in alignment with how his energy flowed. And it wasn't, I really didn't get that till he was a teenager. And he really just kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And I finally had to look within and figure out, wait a minute, he's teaching me how to parent him in the way that he needs to be parented. And that means the interest that he may have, the things he may want to be doing may be very different, or he may go about doing more conventional things in a more unconventional way. So that's really important. Mindfulness, meditation, anything that's going to calm the mind, because again, they're very much into the I know. Experimenting with new ideas, super important. Letting the Aquarian energy go and experiment with things that others may not be thinking about. And that, again, thinking about if you are an Aquarian, think about how can I, especially when it comes to if you're finding yourself doing a job or a career or something that seems quite traditional, how could you do it differently? Maybe not just completely change your career, but what are some other things you could do on the side or things that you could do within that space that is a little less conventional so that it would push that energy? Because that's actually going to give you self care, experimenting with new ideas, nature retreats, artistic expression. Obviously, with creativity, there's so many places you can go. They're unconventional. You can go so abstract when you are doing the arts. That's the whole beauty of the arts. Having personal time, super important. Aquarian is a very individualistic energy. So them having their time to themselves, that alone time is very, very important and should be sought after regularly so that you stay and you don't get in the crankiness or the detachment or all of that. Having that time alone is extremely invigorating for Aquarian energy. Being futuristic in your whole visioning, doing things like yoga and Tai Chi, because again, those things they're promoting the physical well-being, but they also really promote mindfulness. Okay. And they align with that more holistic approach that Aquarians tend to gravitate toward. Attending social events, obviously, that's going to get you right back into that social, altruistic, humanitarian, being with friends. Yes. Okay. That needs to be a part of the Aquarian energy. Can't isolate so much that it doesn't have some time to connect, with others. And then just finally, really embracing your uniqueness. You're unique. Listen, if Aquarian is one of your top three, no, you are different. You're different. And that's a good thing, and really embracing that. And that's why when I meet Aquarians or I meet parents of Aquarians, because parents have to do a certain guiding of a child, correct? And then you are taking care of yourself if Aquarius is one of your top three. So I always encourage, like, understand this energy is unique. You are not crazy. It absolutely is. And let's embrace it. The sooner we can embrace it, the sooner we can align with it, the much better Aquarian energy can sit in its high frequency. Super duper important. So I'll say this last statement in terms of self care practices for Aquarian. You need to tailor your self care practices to align with the Aquarius energy so that it allows your individuality and allows you to nurture your independence and forward thinking, okay, while fostering a sense of connection, purpose, and well being. All right. Super duper important for Aquarius. Like I said, I really love Aquarian energy. I think it's a very special energy. It's a very misunderstood energy because of the way we have conditioned ourselves in society. Go find where your Aquarius sits. If your partner, child, or loved one or family or friend is Aquarian, take a minute, listen to this, and think about how you can show up maybe for the people in your life and have a better understanding of kind of how they're showing up in their own lives. Super important. All right. So, our question of the day: how can I learn more about astrology and start studying it myself? Well, there are a myriad of resources. I know that we're getting astrology is starting to trend and buzz and do lots of things, but I don't want you just to get your astrology knowledge from YouTube or from TikTok, okay? They are fine spaces, particularly YouTube. Absolutely, they're fine spaces to begin to kind of just get an idea. But I think if you're really serious and you really want to learn about astrology, there are some books out there that I think there's one book that I really love. I think Chani Nicholas, she's a modern astrologer. She has a book called You Were Born for This. I think it's an excellent resource to go to if you're doing it on your own. But I really think to get started doing a reading with someone who can really not only read your chart, but who can explain what's happening so it's accessible. So I am going to toot my horn on this. I'm going to toot my horn. I have found that the way that I was mentored, the way that I learned astrology, I teach and coach that same way. And it's all about accessibility. It's all about real life, making it very tangible, demystifying it so that you can learn it in a way just like you were learning how to ride a bike. Okay. Just like you learn anything else that really you hold on to. Um, Having a mentor, having a coach, having someone like myself really help you go through your chart. I think going through your chart also is the best way to study, okay, to start studying because you'll be able to relate. You'll be able to see things in your own life. It's like, oh, yeah, yep, that's me. Yep, 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 yep. It's an excellent way. So I think, yes, there are books out there. The book I just recommended, I think, is strong. You can definitely go on YouTube and look at different things. I do think, though, having someone specifically who is an astrologer or who provides astrology readings and guidance readings to really help you better understand your chart and understand placements. Absolutely. I am in the process of forming a very basic masterclass that will kind of give some foundations to the intro of astrology, including understanding the planets, the signs, the modalities, the elements, the degrees, the retrogrades, the aspects, the houses, all of that. That is coming up. And I will mostly be reaching out to those people who have had some kind of reading with me or have expressed an interest. So put something in the comment or email info at findingyourvoiceafter40.com if that's something you'd be interested in. Or if you just want a reading, again, I'd start there. Start there and see how it felt to get that reading. And then you can kind of decide, oh, is this something more I want to learn? Or not so much. Okay. All right. We will be back next week. We're doing Pisces. It's our final sign. It's the final sign of the year. When we open up 2024, we're going to do a new series, but it's all being done for your self care, for your betterment. That's the whole point. It's not just to have tricks and tips in astrology, but it's for you to actually be able to use it and to develop yourself and to take care of yourself and to know yourself clearly. And I think astrology has a very strong ability to do that. All right. You guys be well. Happy by the time you're watching this, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. By the time you're watching this, and the next day will be Christmas. And then when we come back, it'll be New Year's Eve. Perfect time for us to end this series. All right, you guys take care. Talk to you soon and be safe. Bye. Happy holidays.